Hello and welcome to Hump Hangouts 561 on the 27th of August 2025. I'm here with Bradley today, live as usual. Weather is amazing and I've also been out during the day. Adam is still somewhere in the woods from what I remember. Not sure if running or just like hiding somewhere, but I think he's back next week. And let's also check in with Bradley. How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Shit's still funny to me. It's been like a 10-year-old running joke, still funny to me. Adam running in the woods.
Yeah,
Anyway,
always good.
yeah, I'm good, man. Things are good, busy as hell. I'm a little bit under the weather. Got a sinus cold or something. I've been coughing a lot and feeling like shit for 2 days. And it sucks because I'm in the middle of a sales call and I get in a coughing fit, or I'll have to pause a video when I'm doing a full SEO audit or competitive link analysis. And it's just been a pain in the ass, but I'm here. We don't have a lot of questions today, so after we get through announcements, we'll jump into that. And if we can wrap up a little bit early today, I'm happy to do so, just because, like I said, I'm feeling a bit under the weather, but glad to be here. Things are busy. Seeing some really cool things happening with our AI apps and all that, which I don't know, we might get a chance to talk about that a little bit today. But
Yeah, Gemini just released a new image generator as well. Just
oh
played with
yeah,
it. Yeah, pretty
okay,
cool.
cool, cool. Do we have any announcements? I think local ops. We're going to talk about that a little bit.
Yep.
As a matter of fact, if you don't mind, I'm gonna grab the screen real quick and we'll pop into that because I want to demonstrate this just to show people. I've had some really good feedback about this. In fact, I've had a number of people come and inquire about white label services as part of the local SEO ops training. So I'm going to jump into that very quickly. I want to show this just so that the group knows about it.
Exciting. And also, if you're listening to this video, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button so you don't miss any notifications and you're always up to date.
So this is the training in the SOP format, which is the way that I prefer people review it or consume it, whatever you want to say. We also have it in the Circle community. Let me just show you where that is.
Can you explain what it is exactly?
Yeah, I'm going to in a minute. So here is the kind of course here that shows it in our Circle community, so that you know for people that don't want to use Flowster, which seems silly to me. But in any case, it's available here as a kind of a training program. But part of the several of the components within the training program are in SOP format. So if you don't have Flowster, um, then it's going to be kind of restrictive as to how much you're going to get out of it. So I recommend having Flowster. But what is Local Ops SEO System? It is essentially the exact same process that I use for all my own local SEO clients. Not talking about white label clients, but because white label clients is different, slightly different. I mean, it's still the same process, but like, for example, I don't manage the websites for white label clients because I don't touch other people's websites. We've talked about that a lot on Hump Day Hangouts. But for my own local SEO clients, so that's the difference between retail clients and wholesale clients. You understand? Retail clients are my own local SEO clients where I have direct communication, direct engagement with the business owners that I am optimizing their web presence for. But for white label clients, that's what I call wholesale clients because those are my clients have local business clients. My clients are retail agencies that have direct engagements with their local business clients. My engagement with them is on the wholesale side of things where I'm wholesaling fulfillment services to them that then they sell retail to their clients. Okay, hopefully you understand the difference. The process is the same for either, but there are some components for white label clients that we don't touch. We can provide consultation and provide recommendations via consultation on how to do things like optimize the site, etc. But we're not going to do that because we don't touch other people's websites. It's just policy that I made several years ago. Okay. So in any case, this is the exact kind of process that I go through for all of my own local SEO campaigns. Very specifically, just to see kind of the breakdown of there's the checklist that shows, and it's a simple process, guys. I mean, when I say it's simple when it's laid out like this. It took me years to kind of develop this as the standard operating procedure for getting clients results, but we execute everything roughly in 4 weeks. All campaigns are slightly different. The communication between myself and my local SEO clients sometimes will delay things. Sometimes there's other circumstances that delay things, but the vast majority of the execution of this full SEO, what I call local ops SEO system, is done within 4 weeks. Again, sometimes that varies. It could be, but usually it's within 4 to 6 weeks tops, and we get everything done that is listed here. Now, there's ongoing stuff, off-page optimization, link building, etc. That's going to be stuff that's ongoing. We continue to do that as long as they're paying us a retainer, right? We're going to keep up those activities and deliverables. So that's stuff that's going to be ongoing. But pretty much all of the front end work is done within the first 3 weeks, 3 to 5 weeks, depending again upon the specific circumstance. But that's basically, this is the exact process that we go through, that I go through, and it's laid out here with basically 2 tracks, right? 2 different paths that any member or anybody that joins or buys the program or whatever can take. There's the do it yourself track, where we provide training and SOPs for each one of these items so that you can do it in-house, train somebody in-house to do it, or do it yourself. That is not what I recommend for any, unless you have no money but lots of time. If you have money but no time, if you have money but less time, then you may want to consider the done for you options. That's the second path. So basically, for each one of these items in here, there is 2 options: do it yourself with training provided, or done for you. And we provide links to either our own white label services or to the recommended vendors when it's a service that our white label agencies don't actually produce. We do use vendors for some of our stuff. And so those links are all provided. So guys, this is the exact playbook or blueprint or whatever you want to call it that I use for all of my own clients. And that's precisely what this is. It's very inexpensive. It's $299, but it's very valuable because a lot of our members that come into the mastermind, remember, they get an onboarding call with me. And one of the things that I hear often in that onboarding call, which is basically just a conversation, it's a 30-minute call usually. Sometimes it goes a little bit longer. But one of the biggest kind of pain points that I hear is lack of consistency in getting clients results. Well, part of the reason that there's lack of consistency, because I usually probe a little bit when I get that response from, a new member. Well, why do you have lack of consistency? And I start asking questions. And it's because they don't have a standard operating procedure where they execute or apply the same things to every client. And so if you do a little bit of this on one campaign and a little bit of that on another campaign, and then another campaign, you do both a little bit of this and a little bit of that, then how do you know what did what, right? If you're changing your strategy, your execution strategy for achieving results, and like, what do you apply to a campaign? If that's different on every campaign, how can you ever know what was responsible for what, right? That's why I always recommend that, first of all, you go into one single industry and you try to test all of your methods in one industry. And because once you have developed a fairly well performing like website, its structure, et cetera, then you can start doing single variable changes. So single variable tests to change one variable and then track the performance, the effect on its performance, whether it's positive or negative. And then whenever you can find something that shows positive improvements, like a single variable change produces a positive result, a positive improvement, then you repeat that several times and see, does it produce similar results? Is it duplicatable across other projects? If so, then you work that into the standard operating procedure. Well, how do you think I developed this? Through a lot of trial and error. I've been doing local SEO for 15 years now, right? It's taken me 10 years of consistent effort and documenting things and building SOPs and all the stuff that I've been doing for the last decade to really boil it down into what this is now. And this is a very succinct plan for getting local business clients. Of course, the competition levels are going to vary for all clients. All situations are going to be different. So the amount of this that you have to apply, and the budget required to get the client results is going to vary. But this is exactly the exact same process that I apply to all campaigns, period. And it makes it much easier to get consistent results for clients, because I know everything is going to be done. Everything's going to be done exactly the same for each client in exactly the same order with exactly the same deliverables, right? The only thing that really changes is the quantity of those things depending on the competition levels. That's it. That's the only thing that's different. That's how you scale an agency, guys. It's not by developing custom proposals for every client. Think about how many of you, and again, this is another thing that comes up all the time on calls when I have with new members of the mastermind. Most people are still doing custom proposals. They're not productizing their services, right? And so, just again, it's a rhetorical question here, but how many of you have gone out and spent hours and hours and hours developing a custom proposal to submit to a potential a prospect, right? A potential client, just for them to turn it down? Right. And so if you're doing custom proposals for every client and you're spending hours and hours and hours developing custom proposals, some of which are never going to get accepted, so you've just wasted all that time. And then when they do get accepted, because each campaign is a custom proposal with different deliverables and different, quantities and all that kind of stuff, it's much harder to manage those campaigns because every campaign is slightly different. If you're in one industry and you have a repeatable process like this that you apply to every campaign, it becomes routine, right? It becomes easy to execute. You can develop team members that, like, kind of like an assembly line. You can hire and train and delegate work to virtual assistants, employees, contract employees, whatever. Excuse me, that are solely responsible for, let's say, one or a couple, three, whatever tasks within this process. And because they're going to repeat those same processes and over again, they're going to become super efficient at it, right? And what I do is task my team members for, like, here's the SOP, and since you're going to be executing this particular task over and over and over again, I'm going to put the responsibility on you to try to find ways to improve this process, right? Look for tools, apps, AI, whatever that can help you to be more efficient in executing this task. Start with this SOP, but since you're going to be the one executing this over and over and over again, I want you to be more efficient, because remember, I paid my team members based upon their output, right? Per task completed is how I pay them. So it's in their best interest and mine for them to be more efficient, right? They can make more money if they can make the process more efficient, because they can produce more, therefore make more money, right? I don't pay them hourly, because what's the incentive of becoming more efficient with their time if they're being paid hourly? Isn't the incentive actually reversed if you're paying them by the hour? Of course it is, right? So if I can show them these SOPs with these very specific tasks, and some of my VAs are trained across every one of these tasks, but that's only a handful of them. The majority of them are trained for very specific sections of this process, and they repeat it over and over and over again. And they actually help to make the process more efficient over time because they find ways to improve it, right? And that's precisely how you can scale an agency, guys, is by developing repeatable processes and then building like an assembly line. Now, a lot of this stuff could likely be turned in, automated with AI. Something I don't have the bandwidth to do. Some of you guys out there that have a lot more time on your hands than you do client work right now, you may want to consider buying something like this and then learning how to automate it with AI, right? Because then you could have a whole team of AI employees that are executing these tasks like what I have actual human employees doing, which would significantly reduce your overhead, which means increase your profitability, or you could decrease your prices, thereby much more likely to land clients. And once you're more confident in your own abilities, then you can start to raise your prices again. But I'm just saying, like, here's basically the whole outline, guys. This is a roadmap for exactly how to get results for your clients, right? The quantities of the task applied to the campaign are going to vary depending upon the competition. But outside of that, this should be exactly what all clients need in order to get results. I'm not kidding. And it's just because it's a very simple, I say simple, there's a lot of complicated tasks in here, but the overall process is laid out in a simple fashion to make it easy to follow, easy to delegate, etc. Hopefully that makes sense. So anyway, I just wanted to share a few minutes to talk about that because we've gotten a lot of really good feedback from the 30 some plus members that are in there. I've had a number of people reach out for white label services. Again, my recommendation for anybody doing agency type work is that until you have your cash flow needs met, you actually use white label or third party fulfillment providers and focus on marketing and sales until you get your cash flow needs met to cover all your company's overhead and your personal income goals. Why would you want to complicate your business and your life by taking all of this in-house and being responsible for all the fulfillment and all the stress that comes with that? If you can use trusted third-party providers and focus in on marketing and sales, which is where you generate revenue, right? Get your cash flow needs met first and then bring the fulfillment in-house if you desire to. And so I recommend to most people, focus in on the marketing and sales side of things, which, by the way, we have training in the mastermind specifically for that. The DHA program is specifically about how to identify a particular industry and develop a whole entire marketing campaign, and semi-automated or fully automated, depending on which level you want to take, to market and generate leads for within a particular industry for your agency. And so if you focus in on marketing and sales first, generate revenue, use third-party fulfillment providers until you get your cash flow needs where they need to be, then you can bring the fulfillment in-house. But my point is, why would you want to overcomplicate your life at that point? If you've got a profitable agency where because you've got plenty of markup room, right? For example, even if you used our white label services and you just marked them up 50%, that's still a decent profit margin that you could then go out and just sell the shit out of that and not even have to worry about fulfillment, right? I'm just pointing these things out, guys, because, in my own business, my own career, I wish to God that somebody had told me that 15 years ago. It took me it took me 10 years to really learn that. In 2020, I kind of discovered that is the path I should have taken. And I've spent the last 5 years now trying to develop that into an easy, repeatable process. It's complicated, but I've tried to make it as easy as possible to be able to build that type of an agency, right? An industry or niche specific agency where you focus in on marketing and sales until you got your cash flow needs met. And then if you want to bring fulfillment in-house, that's fine. We've got all the SOPs to help you to do that for all of this, pretty much, except for the stuff that I don't actually produce in-house where I use vendors, in which case we link to the vendors. Hopefully that's clear. Anyway, that was my pitch for Local Fury. How'd I do?
Outstanding.
Anything else that we need to chat about before we get into it?
I think we're good. Like we can jump straight to it.
Right on. Well, then we
I'll
see what's
post
up,
the
Craig.
link. By the way, I'll post a link on how people can get the local ops training as well in the chat.
You're going to put it in chat?
Yep.
Okay, cool. Thank you. I believe it's, I don't even know what the subdomain is. I know for everything but that one. I think it might be localops.semanticmastery.com. I'm not sure. Anyway.
I'll check it.
All right. I see Craig's in here. What's up, Craig? What's up? Sharkin. My website is set up with an incorrect URL structure, and I have about 6 months of links that I built to those incorrect links. Is it too late for me to correct it without losing juice? No, just set up redirects. Sharkin. Excuse me, guys. I told you I've got a little bit of a cold or something, so forgive me if I'm coughing today. I don't mean to. Just do 301 redirects. That's all. You'll have a little bit of loss from the redirect, but it's not much. So yeah, don't worry about that. Just do 301 redirects. There's plugins for that. Let me grab the screen, by the way. There's plugins for that you can use. Simple 301 redirects is one. If you're using an SEO plugin with the Pro option, like an SEO, like it doesn't matter which one, most of them will have a redirect module if you're paying for the Pro version of the SEO plugin, so you don't need another plugin for that. There's a number of ways you can set up redirects. The easiest way is either using a dedicated redirect plugin, like again, Simple 301 redirects is one that you could use, but don't add another plugin to the site if I'm assuming it's WordPress. If it's not WordPress, then you could do redirects a number of other ways. Cloudflare, if you're using Cloudflare for DNS, you can do redirects from the hosting. You could do it via htaccess file. A number of ways you could do it. I'm assuming it's WordPress, and if it is, you could use a separate plugin. But if you're using already an SEO plugin, like pretty much anybody doing WordPress work does, then you would, if you just have the Pro version of the plugin, most of them will have a redirect module. And there's no reason to have additional plugins on the site unless they're needed. Okay, hopefully that's clear. You won't lose. You lose a little bit from a redirect, but not much. So yeah, you're not going to lose much, if anything. Good question. All right. Costco, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be getting these questions, but there's very few, so I'll go ahead and answer. Costco, what's up, man? He says, do you have a cap of clients for your white label links looking to onboard 10 to 15 next month? No, not for links. Not at that volume. If you were to say I'm going to drop, 100 campaigns in the next month, then that would stress us. But 10 to 15, no sweat at all. We could do that in the next week. I'm not kidding, dude. I got a big team over there. So no, that's not a problem at all. We manage over 180 Google Business profiles now. So 180 separate campaigns for Semantic Links now. And that doesn't include all of our one-off services that we offer. Those are just subscriptions. Those are monthly subscriptions. So yeah, that's no sweat at all. We'll be able to handle that, no problem. Okay. All right. It is localops.semanticmastery.com. I thought so.
So work for the done for you, where can they reach out to? Support the Semantic Mastery or?
I'm sorry.
For the done for you services that the guy asked, where can he reach out to?
Oh yeah, well, yeah, you could reach out. You could reach out to support at Semantic Mastery if you'd like. That's just send us an email to support at semanticmastery.com, and Chris G, our support manager, will connect you with me. If somebody wants let me pause for a minute. What I'll do is I'll grab my URL for booking an appointment with me. Um, right here, support call. This is just a support call from through semantic links, but it doesn't matter. It's coming to me. So we do have a separate. By the way, I really haven't tested this yet. Well, I did, but I only had a brief moment to test it. So let me show you what I mean. SemanticSEO.pro. If you go there, you could schedule a call with me. Let me just do that, because that way we'll keep it in the appropriate white label account. SemanticSEO.pro, unless you're looking for just links, in which case you can go to Semantic Links and schedule an appointment with me. Excuse me. Semantic Links, remember, is white label link building, right? So that's my link building service, but Semantic SEO is the more full service. If you go here and you go to contact, you'll see there is now an embedded booking widget. This is in my high level account for Semantic SEO. So you can schedule an appointment directly from me here for Semantic SEO services, which are more full service SEO. Remember, we don't touch the website, but we'll provide consultation and audits and things like that to help improve the on-page optimization. We're just not going to execute those changes. That's up to you or the webmaster who's responsible for managing that site. Okay. We can provide all of that very detailed written instructions, plus a video, all that kind of stuff. But we're not touching the damn website. We don't touch other people's websites, full stop. Okay. But you want to schedule an appointment with me through Semantic SEO, you can do so here. I need to test that a couple of more times, the automations, to make sure that the notifications are all proper. I set this up kind of impromptu last week, but try it there. If you have any problems, you can always reach out to me. I'll put this in chat. But Semantic Links portal, excuse me, you know what? That's probably only, let me remove that one. Let me give you, I'm going to put a different one in. HTTPS, semanticlinks.io. If I can type and talk at the same time, semanticlinks.io dash or slash, excuse me, billing dash support. That'll take you to a scheduling page for Semantic Links only. It's just a 15-minute support call. If you want a full-blown presentation and all that kind of stuff, I don't do hard sales tactics, guys, but I do show presentations of how we operate. If you want to see that, you have to schedule a full kind of sales call with me. If you just have some questions about our services and things like that, then a 15-minute call is really all that should be needed. And that's what I would recommend. But in any case, you have options now. So I just put that in chat. There you go. Any other questions?
All good. Let's get
All right,
started.
let's get into these. Like I said, guys, we might wrap up a little bit early, although we're already 25 minutes in. So, all right, first question is from Huzaifa. He says, hello, Bradley. I built my directory and lead gen mini sites in the pest control niche, and I want to sell it. I have 11 lead gen mini sites, which are built out exactly as Felling Pro brand, but in WordPress. It is 4 months old, has one topical backlink from Semantic Links, 37 out of 100 keywords in the top 10, and 26 out of 100 in the top 3. That's not bad. The directory is populated with listings and built in GeoDirectory and ranks number 7 for pest control directory in the US. So that's cool. Okay. I just wanted to share this information if you were interested in buying, as it could speed up the process for your DHA students or regular mastermind members who might want to start the DHA model in the pest control niche. You know what, Uzaifa, what I can do is, if there's anybody on the call or the Hump Day Hangouts or that watches this on Hump Day Hangouts and they're interested, reach out to us at support@semanticmastery.com. Tell us you're interested in that, and I'll try to make the connection with Uzaifa, and you guys can work out the purchase or sale of his resources. But Uzaifa, what I can do is make a note. I'm actually going to write it down. And I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. I'm probably butchering it, and forgive me for that. I'm terrible with names unless I hear them pronounced. You should hear me. I've got a client in Hawaii, an agency client in Hawaii, and most of their clients are local clients in Hawaii, and they've got the strangest names of their towns and stuff. And every time I do a competitive link analysis, I know I'm butchering the name of the city or town name, like it's awful. And I always have to forgive my ignorance, because I don't know how to say most of those city and town names. But Uzaifa, what I'll do is I'll post your post, essentially what you just posted in the forum here or whatever. I'll post that in our mastermind community and just see if there's anybody interested. And if they are, I'll reach out to you and we'll try to get you guys connected. Okay. I appreciate the offer. Certainly not something I'm interested in, but I do think that there may be some people interested. That's great. That's a lot of work already done to be able to step into having that much done. That would really significantly improve, you know, somebody be able to get results if they don't have to build all that stuff from scratch, right? That's where the problem is that I've seen with the DHA program members. People, they fall behind, and once they get too far behind, they quit. We see that shit happen all the time. And that's why I try to make it as easy as possible with all the SOPs, with the additional coaching and everything else. It's not easy to build that system, but once it's built, it works like magic. I'm telling you, it's amazing. And so, in my opinion, it's the juice is worth the squeeze. So that's why we developed that whole additional coaching program with the accountability meetings, the daily office hours, and everything else, because I don't want to see people get stuck, fall behind, and quit. But even with all the additional coaching, that is only a small fraction of people ever make it all the way through. And it's because just most people go chase shiny objects, right? Oh, I saw this other YouTube video about some new AI, something or other. And so I'm going to drop all this work that I put in and go chase that instead. All right. Well, good luck with that. You know what I mean? So anyway, what you're talking about here, that's a lot of work, man. I'm assuming you're probably getting rid of it just because you're not in the US. It makes it harder for you to transact or do business in the US. I don't know. I don't know what your reason for that is, but it seems to me like you've got a pretty good asset there that I would want to continue working on unless you're just going to switch gears, which, that makes sense too. Howsey says, do you have access to indexable drives for creating gstacks, or is this something you outsource? Yeah, we do. By the way, if you've ever had a public Google Drive folder, all you got to do is add anything that you want to make public, indexable, into that folder, and then change that, and that it'll make it also publicly indexable, like both available for anybody to view, but also indexable, meaning it can be served up in the search results. So, but we have our support manager Chris Greenhow, he developed a web app that he calls it the Publificator. The Publificator, that's what it's called. And basically all it is you just take any Google Drive file URL or folder URL and you add it to this app. It's a web app that goes through Google developers. It's a Chrome, it works in Chrome. And then you just hit Publify. Publify, I think is what it's called, the button. And it makes it public, just like that. A public and indexable. So, but that is I think it's paid, or it might only be available to the mastermind members. But I can't share that publicly. But in the mastermind, yeah, I'm pretty sure you have access to, anybody in the mastermind has access to that. It's called the Publificator. But again, if you have a Google Drive folder somewhere in your account that is from years ago or whatever, that was already set to public, indexable, whatever. And then if you just transfer another folder into there, so move another folder into there, then it will automatically inherit those permission settings, or you can set it to the same permission settings as the parent folder at that case, if that makes sense. So it's like a grandfathered permission setting, if that's clear. So, but yes, it can be done. We don't have something that is accessible to the general public, but in the mastermind we do. James says, what's the minimum coverage in miles that every well-optimized GBP should be able to rank in the maps pack, regardless of location, before dropping out? That's not a question I can answer, because there's always going to be exceptions, right? So for example, I would say for the tree service industry, my guarantee had always been a 5x5 grid. So essentially a 5 square mile area, right? Or 25 square mile area, excuse me, a 5x5 grid that would be 1 mile spacing, or it could be a 10x10 grid with half-mile spacing, whatever, but it's 25 square mile area. But that is, in the tree service industry, it's all, even in the kind of, not usually you're not going to be tree services in like New York City, you understand, because it's very little trees. Like, and any trees that are going to be in New York City are going to be typically going to be managed or manicured or whatever, maintained by the city or contractors for the city, right? So by the government, because there's not very many trees, or there's parks and trees, but those are usually contracted by the government, et cetera. So I'm talking about regular tree service contractors in my industry. My guarantee was a 25 square mile area, right? And so that's standard operating, like that's standard for tree guys. But getting back to that example, like New York City, for example, like what's normal for all other locations, like in downtown New York City, right? It's not going to, like you're talking about, you're only going to get blocks of coverage versus quarter, half mile, mile, whatever. You're not going to get that much coverage in those very densely populated areas. It's going to be much narrower coverage. So if you eliminate those densely populated major metropolitan like inner city areas from this question, like if we can just omit that from the question, then I would say something like what I just recommended. It also depends on type of business. Is it a storefront business or is it a service area business? Because how the website is structured is going to influence how much maps coverage it gets, right? Storefront businesses typically don't, the website isn't structured to be treated as a service area business, meaning they don't typically have supporting location pages on the site because they're not really trying to target a large area. They're just trying to target the area in which they're located, usually. So those are going to have usually narrower maps coverage than a service area business that has location pages, supporting location pages. So the standard answer applies to this, James, that always does for all SEO questions. It depends. And I know that's not helpful, but again, there are kind of rules of thumb, so to speak, that you can apply to particular industries. In the tree service industry, like I said, you our default. Let me simplify my answer now that I've given you the complicated version of it. The simple answer is our default report settings for white label clients, which is where I service more clients through my white label services than I do through my own agency. There's no question. So the default report settings that we set up for local search grid reports is 11 by 11 with half mile spacing between nodes. Okay, so that's looking at 5.5 miles across or 2 3/4 of a mile in any direction from where the GBP is located. That's our default report settings. Then whenever I go in to do a competitive link analysis review or a full SEO audit, or if it's part of a subscription campaign for monthly links, if we notice that the campaign's not responding to the links very well, then or not as well as we should, then I will go in and kind of modify the report settings to be more appropriate for that particular campaign. In other words, again, if it's in a more rural area, for example, we're going to oftentimes we'll leave it to an 11 by 11 grid, but we'll expand the distance between nodes from half mile to 1 mile or maybe 2 miles, right? So instead of looking at 5.5 miles across, we're looking at 11 miles or 22 miles across because it's a lower competition area because it's less densely populated, right? Do you understand the correlation between population and competition? Because in a more populated area, there's more likely to be additional companies, more companies competing. In a less densely populated area, there's less companies typically competing. So you can get broader coverage. So it's all about competition levels as to how much maps area coverage you can get. Again, standard operating procedure for all new white label clients or default report settings are 11 by 11 with 0.5 mile spacing. But we always modify those report settings based upon the particular campaign and its situation or circumstance. You understand? Every campaign is going to be different. But again, bare minimum, I think for most businesses, except for those in like densely populated inner cities, 11 by 11, 0.5 mile spacing, that is our kind of what I think should be the kind of normal coverage area that most businesses are going to try to achieve. That if that's clear. And that's a 5.5 mile area across or 2 3/4 of a mile in any direction from where the business is physically located. Hopefully that answers the question. All right. Next one. Ben says, if we wanted to only push map rankings, would you prioritize spending client budget on relevant links or premium press releases from Press Advantage? Excuse me, guys. Excuse me. Assuming the brand is well established. Okay. So question is, if all they wanted to do was improve maps ranking performance, would I recommend spending money on links? So relevant links, semantic links, links with topical and or geographic relevance, or premium press releases from Press Advantage, assuming the brand is well established? It's a good question. I don't have an answer. And the reason I don't have an answer is because I have not done only press releases as a ranking tactic for several years. When we Semantic Mastery launched Local PR Pro many years ago, I had gone through a several month testing process of testing press releases as the only thing we used to rank GBPs, or at the time it was called Google Places. or maybe Google My Business. It was probably Google My Business at that time. Anyway, that was the only time I have tested press releases only for ranking Google Business profiles. And by the way, I set out when I developed that training course, it was purely based upon the results of me setting out to disprove the claims made by a press release company. Chris Munch with the no, it's not Chris Munch. I'm sorry. Maybe it was. No, I don't think it was him. Whoever's the guy that has it used to be Press Cable, but then it became Amplifier, I think. I think it's still called Amplifier now, but anyways, Press Cable, whoever that dude is. Maybe it is Chris Munch. Anyway, can't remember, but I just remember it was years ago when Press Cable, I mean, like I said, they're still promoting it, but under a different name. But Press Cable, again, this was probably back in 2015, something like that. But they, there was the webinar, like they still probably promote it. I'm not on their list anymore, but for years they were promoting Press Cable, and like they promoted the shit out of it. And they constantly say like, all you need to do is press releases and you can rank and rank. And I was trying to call their bluff, like say, you're full of shit. And so I literally set out to prove him wrong, and he was right. I was wrong. And I just couldn't believe what I was able to achieve with press releases only at that time. Now, this was many years ago. And so I developed a whole program called Local PR Pro, which was specifically about using press releases to rank Google business profiles. And but over the years, of course, that's changed, right? All things that work well will stop working at some point, right? Because more people catch on, especially when you develop a training course and then sell the course. Now a lot of people are doing it. Eventually Google will shut it down. That's what happens. It always happens. So anyways, I haven't done anything with where I've used press releases exclusively for the ranking tactic in years. We use them now in combination with semantic links or links with relevance and citations and branded assets and all the other things that I just showed you guys and demonstrated right here. All those other things. Press releases are absolutely part of it. See that right there? But it's not the only thing. You understand? It's part of everything else that we do. So I can't answer that question. If you wanted to only push maps rankings, I would say do a little bit of both because you've got more diversity of signals. Do you understand? That's important. If you overdo one thing, typically it will become less effective, right? So diversify the signal generation and how you're trying to create or produce performance gains, and you will typically get better results. So I would recommend diversifying the different types of links, not just focusing on one type. And by the way, you don't have to do all premium press releases in order to get results from press releases. What we teach, and here, I'll just share the training with you again, guys. Talked about this and shared this many times, so stand by for a minute. I'm going to do a quick channel search for, I can never remember the fucking title of this, press release update 2024. There it is, press release for local SEO 2024 update. This process here has not changed. I'm going to grab this link, put this in chat. This is a full-on webinar. It's publicly available on our YouTube channel, and I go through very specifically. Let me see if I can. There's Jeremy from Press Advantage, a friend of Semantic Mastery for sure, local PR Pro training. I don't know that that's still listed under there. I'll send you guys the slides too. Just give me 1 second. I'll pull it up. Go into my Drive file and grab the URL, and I'll put it in chat for you guys in just a minute. I don't think it's still under the local PR. Yeah, it is. It sure as hell is. There it is. All right, so here it is. I'm going to give you guys the slides too, but I can cover this just briefly now. But what I recommend is PR stacks. Let's see. This is slightly different because Google Business Posts are not recommended anymore, but this part of it, and if you just watch the webinar, the relevant sections of that video are in, excuse me, the relevant sections are in the video. But here's a press release stack, right? There's a difference between a stack and a silo, at least the way that I look at them. A press release silo is where you daisy chain them together, where you have a top of silo. So TOS is top of silo or top of stack, depending on what it is that you're not, or it could be terms of service, right? But I'm talking about as far as the press releases go, I call the TOS as top of silo or top of stack, depending on which method or configuration you're using. A silo is where they're daisy chained together, where there's an A, right? So the top of silo is going to be the first press release. That is what you should use as a premium. But there's no reason to use premium press releases for any subsequent releases in either the silo or the stack. In a silo, they daisy chain together. So press release A being the top of silo should be a premium. Press release B links to press release A. That can be a standard. Press release C links to B, standard. Press release D links to C, right? So D to C to B to A. That's a silo. Okay. A stack is where you have a top of silo or top of stack PR, again, premium. And then you have supporting press releases that just link to the first press release in the top of stack, right? And those would be standard. So that way you can save money. There's no reason to constantly do premium press releases, in my opinion. But the idea here is to use a brand anchor. And all of this is in here, guys. I'll put this chat. Again, some of the earlier stuff in there might not be relevant, but if you watch the video while you're reviewing these, I'll put this on anyone with the link. Then you'll know exactly which is relevant. Okay. So let me put that in chat as well. But the whole point is at at the top of stack or top of silo, depending on how you structure that batch of press releases, I recommend a premium at the top and use a brand anchor or a compound anchor, otherwise known as a brand plus anchor, to link directly to the money site. Right? What do I mean? Well, a compound anchor or brand plus means brand plus a location modifier, or brand plus a keyword, product or service keyword, or both. Brand plus the location, product or service plus the location. Use a semantic triple. Guys, I've been teaching about this for years, right? An entity association statement. This is who we are. This is what we do. This is where we do it. Use that in a longer phrase and use that as the anchor text linking back to the money site. That's a semantic triple. The language models understand that. I promise you, that is how we should be optimizing for language models, is not only in the anchor text itself. That is one way to do it, but just if the anchor text is surrounded by a semantic triple. Like, in other words, if only part of the semantic triple, again, another name for that is an entity association statement. So if you have an entity association statement and only part of that entity association statement is hyperlinked, that's still part of an entity association statement. So the language models, when they ingest that content, they're going to follow the link over to wherever it goes, but they'll understand the contextual relevance of that link because of the semantic triple that surrounds it. Do you understand? So what I'm getting at is you want to use the top of stack or silo press release as a premium using a semantic triple either as the full anchor text or surrounding the anchor text. You understand? With a brand plus anchor, brand plus location modifier, brand plus product or services, or a combination of all three. Okay. And then all your supporting or subsequent press releases will link using supporting topics, subtopics, sub-themes, supporting themes, whatever you want to call it, longer tail versions, whatever, that each one of those subsequent press releases are optimized for supporting content purposes that then are going to link to the top of stack or top of silo PR, thereby pushing relevant link equity and contextual topical relevance from supporting press releases up to the top of stack that is done via premium through a direct link to the money site. It's one of the very few times that I recommend linking direct to the money site with a press release. Okay. But that is, again, all of this is put right in here so that you guys have that. And again, that's publicly available on our YouTube channel. And I think the slides might be referenced in here. And if they're not, I should probably put them in the description as well. Okay. Good question. Okay. So to answer the final answer to the question then is both. Do both. Don't just focus on one. Do both. All right. Don't spend all your money on premium press releases. Buy one, then spend your money on standard distribution for any of those subsequent PRs in the stack, and that will allow some leftover budget to then go buy semantic links, of course. Whether you buy them from me or somebody else, I don't care. I'm just saying diversify your links. Okay. That's all. All right, guys. I think we can go ahead and get in the comments and wrap it up for the day. Maybe get done a couple minutes early. Excuse me. All right. Comments. Host Squared Marketing. I fell behind, but now I'm completing just a little bit each day, week. Your videos are simple to follow. Host Squared Marketing said, yeah, hey, man, no sweat. Look, I get it. We've had a number of people go through the DHA program, if that's what you're talking about, that, kind of dropped off, and we see that a lot. And I know I try to make it as easy as possible. I try to provide as much support as the DHA program. I understand people in the mastermind that just go through the SOPs on their own that fall out. They don't complete it. See that all the time. But that's precise because a lot of people don't have the stick to itiveness, so to speak, to complete anything, right? Guys, I'm guilty of this too. I've got tons of projects that I've started and I've never finished. But something as important as like creating an automated lead generation system for your own agency, to me, that's not something that you get bored with and stop doing. You finish it, right? Especially if you're struggling. I'm not talking to you specifically in the comment. I'm talking about anybody in general, right? If you're struggling to generate revenue, if you haven't met your income needs met yet, your revenue goals yet, if you're struggling to land clients consistently, then why would you go chase anything else other than putting blinders on, putting your head down, and getting the work done to now have an automated lead generation machine for your own agency, right? And so I'm not talking to you specifically. I'm talking to the general audience. I have dozens of projects that I've started and I had good intentions to complete them and I never go back to them. So I'm guilty of this too. But there are certain things that I've learned over the years that you have to focus your attention on if you want to change your circumstance, right? And so when I kind of really 5 years ago, really kind of developed this mindset, this philosophy, I adopted this philosophy, I should say, um, it changed everything, right? My entire life has changed, guys, because of putting in the effort and the work to develop an automated, well, it wasn't automated at the time, but to focus in on marketing and sales, landing clients. And then over the last 5 years, I've been developing, trying to automate that as much as possible, or at least streamline it by building SOPs, et cetera, and that kind of stuff. And so that's why I said the whole system is not simple. It is a complicated system, but I've built all of the SOPs and they're very detailed because I've spent the last 5 years working in this system, right? And so, like I said, I understand some people already have clients and I get it. Look, I've spent the last week trying to, my CPA keeps hounding me to get my personal return, all the information to her for my personal tax return for this year or for last year's taxes, I mean, because she always files an extension. We filed all of our corporate returns by April 15th this year, but she always files the extension for the personal return because I'm an LLC with the pass through and and all that. So all of my corporate returns have been submitted. They were all sent to IRS in April or whatever. But she's been on me because she always files an extension for the personal return, which means it's due in the middle of October. Okay, October 15th. And so she's been hounding me for the last several weeks to get my personal return information to her. And a week ago, I sent her an email and said, I promise it'll be done in the next 7 days. And the last 7 days, I've had full intentions to work on my taxes for her. And I've been unable to do it because of client work. And like honesty, and I can't not do client work, which pays the bills, right? In order to complete my taxes. So I've just got to try to work it out. And so I get it, guys. Things, happen where they get in the way and but you have to prioritize what is going to produce the best results and understand that, yes, like I just mentioned, I have to pay the bills, right? I got to keep the lights on. So I have to fulfill my client work and I can't put that off in order to do my taxes. But at the same time, like, for example, if I were having troubles making money, if I didn't have enough money coming in and blah, 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 then I would absolutely budget time for developing a process, right? Or implementing a process for generating more leads for my agency so that I could get my revenue up because that's a priority. It has to be, or else you're never going to make any progress, right? It's like taking 2 steps forward and 1 step back, right? You might make marginal gains, but you never make quantum leaps, right? Big jumps in progress because you're always stuck putting out fires, playing whack-a-mole, whatever it is. You understand? And so what I tell my DHA program members and other, people in the mastermind is pay yourself first. If you guys have ever listened to or read any books that talk about how to save money, right? Even when like as a young person, I don't even know if they teach any of that shit in school anymore because school's so stupid now. But I remember being a young person in school and we'd have basic like economics and home economics, right? Like I remember being in middle school, I had to go through that and they teach you like basic personal finance and stuff. I don't think they teach any of that shit anymore. But anyways, basic you know, traditional knowledge, I guess you can call it, or whatever, for saving money is pay yourself first, right? If you live on a paycheck, right, take 10% right out of the top, put it away, don't touch it. Like it's non-negotiable. You take 10% right out of the off the top of whatever your weekly pay is if you're an employee, and you put it away. Put it in a savings account or something where you're not going to touch it. You learn to live on less, and it becomes non-negotiable. You always pay yourself first, because if you don't, everybody has good intentions. Oh, I'll save money when I get caught up, right? But you never get caught up. Nobody ever does. And so you pay yourself first. That's the only way to start developing a savings account. At least that's what I learned as a young man. Well, I applied that to trying to improve your business. If you are struggling in your own business, but you're always doing client work instead of working on your own business, you're never going to get ahead. The only way you're going to get ahead is if you pay yourself first, which means budget an hour a day. That's it. Monday through Friday, 5 hours a week. Budget it out. The first part of your day. Set your alarm an hour earlier. I'm not kidding. Like, lose an hour of sleep if you have to. But make the first hour of the day or the last hour of the day. I work way better in the mornings. In the afternoons and the evenings, I'm brain dead. I can't do this shit at night. I have to do it in the mornings when I'm fresh. So budget an hour in the morning, Monday through Friday, for the where you don't look at email, you don't get on social media, you don't check your phone, do nothing but focus in on whatever you've designated as what you're going to spend, whatever you're trying to build for your own business. And just devote an hour of that every day. Maybe you don't have an hour. Fine, do 30 minutes, right? Every single day, non-negotiable. Don't let anything get in the way of that. Nothing, right? Don't look at your phone. Don't look at email. None of that. Just get up in the morning, have your coffee, do whatever your morning routine is, and then jump right into your time, right? Pay yourself first. That way, you know you're making progress. The only way you're going to make progress is to put one foot in front of the other. And it might take you a long time, but you'll get it done eventually. What's the cliche? A year from now, you will have wished you started today, right? So that's it. I've adopted that policy for probably the last 5 or 6 years now. I used to have a whole morning routine where I would use the best self planner or something similar to that. And I would sit down. I used to have a whole morning routine with meditation, prayer, and then planning. I don't do that anymore. Honest to God, I don't. But I still have, at times when there's things that I want to execute in my own business, I do still practice that policy of paying myself first, budgeting out a certain amount of time, and then going at it each and every day, at least Monday through Friday, until it's completed. That's my best advice for anybody that's struggling. Okay. Okay. Couple more things, guys. Costco says, does Press Advantage work well for ranking in maps outside of the US, or should we try to find a distributor in that region instead? It's a really good question. From what I understand, because I have a number of white label clients in other countries and also mastermind members, et cetera, that they still will work. But reach out to Jeremy at Press Advantage. Schedule a call with him. You can schedule a call right from their main website, I believe, and tell them that you follow Semantic Mastery and that I told you to reach out to him. Because you can get on a call with him and ask him, and he'll be able to give you the answers. Because I don't work, again, my own SEO agency. We have white label clients and we do stuff for, but I've never worked directly with any clients outside of the US for local SEO. So if you want, you can request a demo, schedule a call directly with Jeremy from the Press Advantage website, and Jeremy will jump on a call with you and answer your questions. I know Jeremy can answer that because he co-owns and operates Press Advantage. So they have clients all over the world. And by the way, they cater to agencies, not to retail clients, right? Not to the end user client. This was developed specifically to cater to agencies. So I would contact Jeremy, schedule a call with him, tell him that you were referred to him by me, and he'll give you proper treatment, I promise. Okay. Last comment, and then we're done. Costco says, do you offer this PR stack method on semantic links? I only see either premium or standard. We can. Usually they're one-off. Like, here's the reason why I mentioned this. I tell all white label clients, if you want to do like a press release stack or a silo, obviously you are planning on publishing multiple press releases. You're way better off getting your own Press Advantage subscription. We have a markup. And by the way, I had to have a special reseller agreement with Jeremy, unfortunately, because I've got a really good relationship with him. He gave it to me. But they don't want people reselling unless it's a special circumstance, in which case he will approve it. And he did that for me. But they really don't want people reselling them. And in fact, if you're reselling press releases, now you can buy press releases through your own account that you deliver or provide to clients as part of a retainer. But I'm talking about like going to a like Legit or Fiverr or something like that and selling press releases and using a Press Advantage subscription to resell press releases. I do that at Semantic Links because I'm reselling press releases through my own Semantic Links client portal, which is what Costco is referencing there. Let me just demonstrate this. But I'm getting to a point here. Give me a minute. Press release stacks. Can we do them for you? Yes, we can. However, it's not cost effective for you that way, right? If you're going to be doing press release stacks or silos, you're better off getting your own subscription. Because look what we have to charge for them now, because recently, based upon the new, let me refresh that page, the new distribution partners that have just added, we just had a webinar with Jeremy like 3 weeks ago about it. I had my reseller account upgraded to now we have that next tier of distribution partners, which are local news outlets, like real local news outlets, not shitty like subdomains and all that kind of stuff. And so they're quite powerful because that's what I see ranking right now is a lot of those local news outlets press releases. And so my costs had to go up a little. My costs went up, so obviously the markup went up too to reflect that cost increase. So a standard release is $214. A premium is $349. And that is, I don't have much markup here, guys. I swear, I really don't. And the reason why is because I don't really offer these as a revenue generator, as like I don't do this. I don't offer press releases for their profitability. I offer them as a convenience for my white label clients. Seriously. And that's when I approached Jeremy about it. That's what I told him. Like, look, I do have a slight markup, guys. I'm not putting forth the effort in my team of ordering the press releases, managing them, approving them, inserting links, all that kind of stuff, unless we're going to make something on it, but it's not much of a margin. So if you want to use our services, by all means, yes, we can do a press release stack or a silo for you. But if you plan on doing that much, you're better off getting your own subscription. Okay, does that make sense? And by the way, before somebody asks, let me get you the link to Press Advantage. It should be, I believe it's pressadvantage.com/SM Unlimited. But let me give you the short link instead in case anybody wants it. And then we're going to be done. Because there is a special offer. I don't know if it's still available. We'll find out here in just a moment. So if you're going to order press releases or get your own subscription, I would recommend that you get them through this link. Yes, it is an affiliate link, but it's also because there's a hell of an offer if it's still available, and we're about to find out. God damn it, guys. Excuse me for coughing so much. Press Advantage subscription. Here it is. I'm going to put this in chat and then we'll go open it up. Whoops, sorry. We're right on time. I was like, we're going to get done early. We never do. I never do when I say I'm going to. Here's the URL. See where it resolves to. Yeah, that's it. Unlimited press releases for $9.97 a month. Now there is a, acceptable use policy or whatever. So, but there you go, $9.97 a month. So getting back to what I was showing you here, you can either purchase premium press releases for $350 where you get less than that's 3 press releases you've already spent more than your own subscription for a month with unlimited press releases. You understand? So it's way more cost effective if you have your own account. I just put that link in the chat. Hopefully you got it. All right, guys, we're done. We're right on time. Look at that. That's very rare. So I appreciate you guys. If anybody has any questions, post them in the forum for next week. We do have a mastermind with Bradley meeting, or excuse me, webinar tomorrow. So if anybody's in the mastermind,